if you want help and support in the city of Barrie, we want to provide it to you. If you want to live in addictions and you want to live in encampments, we need you to find somewhere that accepts that, because we don't.
Across the Village Media Network and wherever you get your favorite podcasts, welcome back to Closer Look on this Thursday night with Michael Friscolanti, our editor-in-chief. I'm Scott Sexsmith. Important discussion this evening as we delve into the topic of homeless encampments.
Yes, lots of news this week about what the city of Barrie is doing. The mayor there has declared a state of emergency to deal with the encampments. Lots of questions about what that actually means and what they can do. This was on the heels of, we did a show earlier this month or last month about that alleged heinous double murder that occurred. It had a link to a homeless encampment there. It was shut down. What they found later triggered this decision to issue a state of emergency. The city is now trying to dismantle all the homeless encampments while trying to find services and places for the people who live there. And this is an issue, like we mentioned, that's been going on, that Ontario communities have been trying to grapple with for years now. Earlier this year, we did an episode with someone from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario where they actually put a dollar figure on what they think it would cost to end homelessness in Ontario, and it was like $13 billion.
With a B,
But the argument being that if we spend this money now, it saves us lots of money on the other end. But what's happening in Barrie is sort of ramped it up. It's a different idea, and the mayor's been very vocal about why he's done it. This week he's released open letters to Premier Ford asking for help, to Prime Minister Carney asking for assistance, telling Carney this morning, I believe, that this is a crisis that's real and urgent and demands action. So we're going to hear from the mayor of the mayor of Barrie, Alex Nuttall, sort of what triggered this, what he hopes to accomplish, and of course, are other cities watching, because we know they are.
All eyes are on the city of Barrie after the mayor recently declaring a state of emergency over an issue that communities across Ontario are grappling with: homeless encampments. The man who declared that state of emergency, Barrie Mayor Alex Nuttall, is our guest tonight on Closer Look. Mr. Mayor, thanks for being here to talk about this very important issue. We appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks for having me on today.
All right, let's get right to it. Mr. Mayor, you declared the state of emergency back on the 9th of September, just days after local police revealed heinous details about an alleged double murder linked to a large homeless encampment in your city. How much did that criminal investigation play into your decision, or was this a long time coming?
Well, I think in terms of making the final decision, it played into it quite heavily when the police went in to secure the area for an investigation. There was very little information that was provided at that point as to what the investigation was about. When it came out that it was about a double homicide, and when the reporting was done that, the details of dismemberment and all types of crime that's been taking place, it made it certainly very clear that we could not wait any longer on these issues. The idea that encampments were a safe place, not an emergency situation, is just not something that we could live with anymore in the city of Barrie. The province of Ontario came in right on the heels of the police investigation freeing the scene and declared an environmental emergency there because of the waste that was everywhere, both physical waste as well as feces, etc., and going right into the streams. And so the emergency was really declared before I declared a state of emergency. Mm-hmm. What supported the movement towards an actual call beyond just the criminality of murder, dismemberment, and then the province looking and saying, okay, well, this is a major issue, actually fell into our own testing that was done with regards to E. coli levels as well, coming back at 5 times what was a shutdown level at our beach, and these streams going literally directly to our beach. Yeah, and so we've had some incredibly high readings down at the Lake Simcoe waterfront this year. And, kind of makes sense when you have 100 people, using the washroom into the streams.
Yeah. After that scene was released, were you able to walk through it, Alex? And what was that like, just seeing that up close?
Yeah, I went through it. It was something else. I mean, it wasn't just tents, right? There were structures. I actually weirdly found one of my favorite video games growing up, Command and Conquer, Red Alert. The CD was sitting on the ground. It was very, very strange to see that. But there were, video cameras on some of these structures. There were AC in some cases in some of these structures. Generators, RVs, like it was. I still don't know how they got it in there, to be honest with you, because it didn't make a lot of sense. But it was a very strange environment to be walking through.
Alex, let's talk about the state of emergency if we can for a sec. What exactly does it allow you to do that you couldn't do before under current city bylaws, for example?
Well, I think that there's a couple of things. Number one is resources. When you declare the state of emergency, we can just put the resources into the things that are covered under the state of emergency. So that in this case, it was to provide the supports, the housing, and all of the different items that were needed by those who were facing homelessness. And in order to meet what the tests are related to the judicial decisions that have taken place with regards to removing encampments, we needed to make sure that we have those resources available. Otherwise, there would have been a court challenge about an hour later after we made the announcement. And so it has given us the opportunity to do that. But it goes much beyond that in the sense that Barrie's in a somewhat unique situation. We're not the only one, so I don't want to say it's just the city of Barrie. But right now, all of our social services are delivered by the County of Simcoe. The city of Barrie collects taxation for social services. We provide it to the County of Simcoe. The provincial government and federal governments both also support the County of Simcoe for social services, but we don't control them. We don't have the levers over them. We are literally doing with the county what our citizens do with us. You have 10 people come in, email, call, and say, please deal with this issue on Main Street. And we take that frustration we're hearing from the community, we go to the county and we ask them to deal with the issue on Main Street. And so that is a pretty, critical piece of this, in the sense that we're not in control of our own destiny on the streets of the city of Barrie. What the emergency order did was allow us to create an emergency management team to bring all of these services underneath the emergency situation: the police department, the fire department, the bylaw department, the social service agencies, and the social services of the county, and really coordinate it, make sure there's no gaps, make sure that the help and support that's needed is there, and ensure that as we're conducting the removal of encampments, it's done in a both a compassionate and a just way.
Can we speak to that a little bit more? That's a great point, because what makes this issue so challenging, I think, for all the communities that are dealing with it, yours included, is on the one hand, you have community members who are legitimately concerned about public safety issues, health issues, and just the nuisance of seeing like tents lining main streets, for example. But on the other hand, if you dismantle them, it's a question of what happens to the people who live there. How do you kind of tackle this issue in a way that sort of balances all that?
Well, I think I've been very clear. I have been very clear. I think I use the royal we too often, but I've been very clear, which is, if you want help and support in the city of Barrie, we want to provide it to you. If you want to live in addictions and you want to live in encampments, we need you to find somewhere that accepts that, because we don't. That is both the compassion to get help, but also we have bylaws and we have laws and we have order, and they need to be respected. It's a very delicate line. There's no question. But I can't help people, and our social services can't help people that don't want to be helped. We can help people who are accepting help and support. And so I think the next question you have to ask is, okay, well, how well has it gone since we've gone into the state of emergency? Like, are you actually doing what you say you're doing, or are you just sending people out of town? There's good news, right? The good news is that the county has been able to, because we communicated it with them, they set up 160 spaces available for those to go into shelter. They're freeing up transitional housing. They're freeing up affordable housing units. They're creating capacity inside of the system to allow individuals to get help. The Heart Hub is coming online right now, which was funded by the province of Ontario, which is something that I fought for 2 years to get in place, believing that rehabilitative services and mental health supports were a stronger way to approach this than injection sites. Well, that's now up and running here in the city of Barrie, and 39 out of 44 individuals that were on the encampment on Mulcaster Street accepted support, accepted help, and are in housing. Like, those are fantastic results.
Mm-hmm. Do you know the numbers from the original encampment that was the subject of the police investigation?
No, I don't. And I think that it's fair to say that a number of those individuals went over to the Mulcaster Street encampment. The main shelter services for the city of Barrie, well, it's not for the city, inside of the city of Barrie, I think is a better way to describe it because we don't run it, is over on Mulcaster Street. And that's where folks went, which makes a ton of sense. And I think the other piece there is you've got a courthouse, and that makes sense as well. So I don't know what the original one, because what happened with the original was the police walked in and shut it down without notice. You can't give 2 days notice for folks to collect their things when the police are shutting down the site to investigate a double homicide with dismemberment. It was an immediate action. There was no preparation for it. What we've seen with having preparation from the county, having preparation from the city, is that we've had very, very, very strong results. In fact, last year we removed one encampment in Barrie Park, which would be, I would say, 200 meters from the Mulcaster encampment. It was smaller. I think there was about 20 people total. Of the individuals that were there full time, I think there was 12. 9 accepted long-term help and support out of 12. That's still 75%. I mean, if you were to offer any mayor in the country a 75% success rate on this issue right now, I think that you would hear, yes, please, right now, let's go.
Yeah. So the question is, what happens to those other 25%?
Well, I think that's a good question that we've been asking the province and the feds about, right? Like, look, if those individuals, and in this case last week it wasn't 25%, it was 15%. But if those individuals decide that Barrie's not the place for them because they don't want to live within our laws, we invite them to go to places where they do allow these types of encampments, they do allow camping, they do allow these behaviors to exist, because there are those places in the province of Ontario. Barrie's just not one of them.
And I'm sure you've heard the term pass the buck. I've heard some people say that this is a pass the buck move, that you're saying, well, if you don't want to be in Barrie, go somewhere else. What do you say to those people?
Let me tell you about passing the buck. Right? Because right now, City Hall is opening up its coffers to pass the buck to social service agencies and supports to ensure these individuals are taken care of. Like, that's what we're doing in the state of emergency. We're not passing the buck to other cities. We're passing the buck to the agencies and supports that can actually help these individuals. And so, when we look at the statistics that we have inside of Barrie, there was a community well-being and safety report done. Every municipality in the province needed to update it this year. And so we're able to go get some more statistics. I think there was about 650 or 600 people that were living in a state of homelessness inside the city of Barrie, about 1,000 in the county of Simcoe. And when you look at the numbers, if you take and I do, and others will define it differently, but you have to come up with a line somewhere. So I said, if you've been in Barrie for less than 3 years, you're not from Barrie for living on the street. If you've been in Barrie longer than 3 years, you are from Barrie. If you look at those numbers, 62% of those who are living in a state of homelessness are not from Barrie and not from Simcoe County and living on the street here. The report itself took a different marker. I think it took it was either 12 or 24 month approach, and still it was 52% of individuals living on the street here were not from Barrie and not from Simcoe County. And so we are opening the coffers to provide help and support to over 50% of the people that are just not from our city. And that's not passing the buck. That's taking the problem head on. That's making it visible, and that's making the opportunities for success and help visible and action taking place.
Alex, this week you shared an open letter that you had sent to Doug Ford saying your city has reached, quote, a breaking point on the issue of homelessness, and that you need the province to provide immediate funding to help you tackle the issue. Question, have you heard back from the Premier as of yet?
Well, yes. First of all, I think that the province is correct when they say they've actually already provided the funding. And and I'll go through it kind of piece by piece because there's multiple avenues for that funding.
Sure.
The first one is the homelessness prevention funding. We received an 86% increase in Simcoe County. The average across the province was 44%. So we clearly, doubling the average, have done incredibly well when it came to recognition of the homelessness that was taking place here. The second piece was we provided shelter funding. We were also provided encampment cleanup funding. And finally, as I think I already discussed, Heart Hub funding is being placed in this community here as well. So I think where you're looking at the medium to long term, all of the things that I would expect the province to do have been put in place when it comes to funding the services. Where I think that there's a gap is the immediate cleanup of these encampments. You know, we're talking about 20 to 25 encampments. The first two encampments that were really one, but they were on opposite sides of the roads, they had different addresses, so we'll call them two. They're going to be in the millions of dollars to clean up.
Wow.
Right. And we're going to spend millions more cleaning up the rest of the encampments around the city. So when I say that we need funding, it's not really to look so much as the long-term items, because we've been successful in partnering with the province on those right now. And I know it's not the same everywhere, so I don't want to say that there's no problem with provincial funding in the province of Ontario. I'm just saying here in Barrie, that piece has been taken care of. But what we do need is support for the millions of dollars we're about to spend cleaning up around the city. And if I can just say, like, I think often what happens, and it's funny, I have an op-ed that I'm working on right now. Often what happens is we try to determine these things through like dollars spent. But what help's coming? How much money they're spending, right? There's actually other things that we need our federal and provincial governments to do. I sent a letter to Prime Minister Carney this morning on this, which is we need to look at helping municipalities deal with this. The idea that somebody in a wheelchair can't use a sidewalk because there's an encampment, like, help me balance the rights here between these two sets of people, because it doesn't make sense that my mother with a walker needs to cross the street in order to use the sidewalk because there's an encampment on the sidewalk, right? And that's actually a real life situation, right? So I think that we need help from the feds and the province to step in on some of these court rulings that are, quite frankly, going to the legislation side of things rather than the interpretation side of things. When the balance is going so far one way that a person can't use a sidewalk with a walker, that means you're now legislating what bylaws allow what sidewalks to be used for what, rather than interpreting the rights of individuals.
I appreciate that. Your letter to Premier Ford also talks about strengthening the existing system of mandatory community-based and residential mental health care, and expanding those services to treat those who have severe and debilitating addictions. The term mandatory care kind of sticks out to me, Alex. Are we talking about forced treatment here? What are you talking about?
We already have forced treatment in Ontario. You know, if you know Dan Carter, and if you don't, you should call him. You should have him on here as well. He is an incredible human being. The mayor of Oshawa, lived homeless, lived with addiction, and was able to reclaim his life. And one of the things that he said to me, and the mayor of Brantford, Kevin Davis, have said to me is this: one, a lawyer, one who has lived experience beyond something I can even comprehend, is that the mandatory intervention already happens. So if you can put yourself in the position, I actually had this, we had Brett Kissel do a concert in downtown Barrie. I was walking away from the concert to go home with my wife. And as we were walking up Mulcaster, there was an individual overdosing in the middle of the sidewalk, and we called 911, and the ambulance came and naloxone, and that fixed that problem. But they didn't ask the individual if they could give him naloxone, right? They intervened because it was life or death. Why are we waiting for a life or death circumstance for intervention? Why is society saying the only time that you can help somebody is if they're going to die? That doesn't seem like a very good strategy. Portugal took a very, very clear approach to this. And what happened in Portugal was, if you were nabbed for having, let's say, I don't know, a gram of cocaine. I'm just making the thing up right now, or a vial of heroin, right? And not that you would be nabbed, but let's say one was. They would be given the opportunity to either go through the jail side or to go through the rehabilitation side. But that's a forced intervention at that point, right? Like you can go down the judicial route or you can go down the rehabilitation route, but it's forced. And our diversion programs are not going down the same road yet because the capacity isn't there. We need investment in these things. And the idea that municipalities can somehow make up for the lack of healthcare and the lack of judicial reform in this country is just a notion that makes zero sense, right? Catch and release plus no mental health care. And you're going to ask the local government, the local council, the local mayor, many of which I would say a vast majority of which are part-time councils, to make up the difference. It just doesn't make any sense, and it shows there's just not a strategy in this country, and there's we're failing on that front.
Alex, I know you're tight for time. Just a couple more questions, if we can. What are you hearing from other mayors across the province? I assume they're watching what you're doing very closely.
Yeah, it's interesting. The mayors I'm hearing from are asking, like, how's it going? How did you do it? What effect is it having? What does it give you that you didn't have before? Kind of the same questions we're talking about here today. And the response has been very supportive. We have different councils that are contemplating the same thing right now across the province. We'll certainly provide all the information to them as we do the province and anyone who asks, as you can tell by me being here today. It's incredibly important for Barrie that we also learn the successes elsewhere. Like I hope in the midst, and the data supports we're in the midst of a success here. But we also, as these municipalities are calling, like I'm asking them, okay, well, tell me about a success you have. We all have the failures, right? Like we've all seen the failures in the system, but what successes have you had? And so it's a neat conversation because I'm able to learn from them on how they've approached things. Sometimes it's a governance thing that allows them to approach it differently than the city of Barrie can, and sometimes it's not. So we'll continue to have those conversations, and I think you'll continue to see more and more municipalities take the same approach that we are.
Alex, you've touched on this a little bit already, but I've seen you use the term a few times, compassionate intervention, that's key to this process, is to be compassionate with people. We've heard that as well from lots of people over the years we've been dealing with encampments and communities. What does that mean to you, and how do you accomplish it?
Well, compassionate intervention means, there's a mandatory thing, but it's an intervention moment. And so when you're doing that, you need to be leading with compassion for the individual. We have incredible people on the ground that do this work. No matter what the differences of opinion are in society or in politics or even in the philosophies of different organizations, I think we can all agree we're here for the same reason, which is to help the individuals who are hurting, right? And so that's what you have to take into each and every situation. And I always say this, like, if you want change in Barrie, right? Change in Barrie doesn't start at the community level. It actually starts at the individual level, because having the compassion to help an individual one by one by one by one is how the community is going to be able to have more order, more respect, more safety, more compassion. As we see the success stories and all of these things, it has to start with one. And I think that that's the approach that we're seeing is working at the moment. It doesn't mean we're not under, there aren't critiques out there for how we're operating. And I'm sure we're going to make mistakes. Like, we're human just like everybody else is. But the underlying notion is, let's help these people. And I can tell you, there's meeting after meeting in our day right now, in our days here in the mayor's office in the city of Barrie, that are focused on getting more space, getting more mental health professionals into help, getting more addiction support into help, finding ways to increase capacity for rehabilitation, and even to the point where we're starting to say, okay, well, what happens 6 months from now? How do we get like employment services to be able to align individuals that are ready for employment at that point? Like, these are compassionate approaches to helping individuals, but we shouldn't mix compassion with disorder, right? In the sense that there still has to be an order in the city, lawfulness in the city, safety in the city, and that's what we're moving towards.
Alex, let's take it beyond 6 months, and I'm going to ask you to look into your crystal ball. In a perfect world, what will this situation look like, say, a year from now?
Well, I think that's more dependent on the country and on the province than it is the city. And let me explain what I mean by that. Let's pretend for a second that 2 weeks from now, this isn't going to happen, but I'm just going to pretend. 2 weeks from now, we get to the point where we have no tents and no encampments in the city of Barrie. The homeless population is a transitory population, and I'll give you examples of that. In the summer in Barrie, we have a beautiful lake. We have a wonderful community that likes to take care of those who are hurt. The lake has incredible fishing. Okay. So there's a lot of things you can do yourself to take care of yourself while you're living homeless here in the city of Barrie. That population reduces in the wintertime because you probably know our winters are like your winters. They're harsh, right? We're in the snow belt. It can be minus 45 and 3 feet of snow. And so we know this is a population that moves around a lot. So if Barrie is going it alone on cleaning up encampments, it's only a matter of time before it comes back around, and it becomes a cycle and a circle. We need other municipalities to be acting the same way that we are. We know there are some out there that are doing that already. But we also need the feds in the province to come up with a strategy. And I hate to say it because, every time you hear a politician say, "Oh, we've got a strategy that or a plan for that," it's like, okay, and you're going to send it to committee too, right? It doesn't, but we do in this case need to have a broader strategy than declaring a state of emergency. I'm doing it for a very specific short-term end. And then my belief is that if we properly manage it going forward, it'll prevent this type of thing from happening again. But if there is a constant stream of individuals just going to the other towns and then coming back, it's going to be chasing the tail a little bit. And so I can't tell you what the outcome is. I can tell you what the outcome will be if the feds and the province take this seriously. And I think the province has, with the amount of funding they're throwing at it. You'll see the effects of what we saw in Portugal, right? Where it dropped by more than 50%. And I think that you would, really get some public support behind a federal and provincial move. And I know I'm talking a lot. I just want to say one more thing
No problem.
On this federal provincial piece. In 2018, I was a member of parliament at the time, and I asked the federal parliament to shut down debate on the budget. The budget is like the end all and be all of all federal politics when it's being debated, because it's really setting the course for the year on spending and all of those things. And Parliament, after a week, the first week they said no, but Parliament adopted it. All the parties agreed to shut down debate to focus on the opioid emergency that was taking place at that point. I think the sad part of this is we are literally 7 years later and still have not taken that emergency seriously, and we haven't declared it at the provincial or federal level. And I've now done it at the municipal level because I don't see any other way out of it.
It's a great point. I just want to ask you real quickly, what's the reaction been like from people you're walking by on the street or emails you're getting from people in Barrie? Has it been mixed or is it mostly one way?
Well, look, I'm not going to say there's no opposition to it, but I'm going to tell you something that's going to surprise you right now. I'm guessing we have 250 to 300 emails of support, and I think we have 8 against.
Wow.
When I'm walking down the street, cars are I'm not making this up. Cars are pulling over. People are getting out. And I just wanted to shake your hand and say thank you for taking this action. And they're not just saying it as a thank you. I think there's a challenge that they're giving me as well, which is like, make sure you do it right. Don't be brash. Don't try to do it all at once. Make sure the supports are there and make sure you do it right. And I think we're trying to live up to that. Again, if we weren't doing that and we weren't following what the judiciary has said at this point and we weren't leading with compassion, I think you already would have had court cases flying our way.
Alex, before we let you go, anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I just want to say thank you for inviting me in today. And if we can ever get back together in the future, I'd love to join you.
Absolutely. Right. Open invitation, Alex.
Done deal. There's Barrie Mayor Alex Nuttall. Alex, thanks for this. Good to see you.
You too. Have a great day, sir.
Yeah, you got to think all eyes right now on the city of Barrie, and also wonder, is it going to get worse maybe before it gets better, the situation?
Yeah, and it's that idea that this is an issue that's festered for so long, and people are frustrated. Like we talked about in the show, they're frustrated by the health and safety concerns they see and just the nuisance of seeing tents on main streets. But they're also concerned about, how do we help these people? How do we help them get transitioned from this terrible living situation they're in into somewhere better and give them the help they need? And that's the real challenge with this whole issue, is how do you find that balance? How do you tackle this crisis by solving both of those issues, right? And so I think obviously Mayor Nuttall feels like this is the way to go. He made a great case for why he's doing this and why others are watching. And it will be interesting to see how Premier Ford's government, how Prime Minister Carney's government reacts to this, because it's one of those things where it's not just an issue. People are talking about it. People are watching it. It's in the news. We're nowhere near Barrie, Ontario. We're in Sault Ste. Marie, and we're following what's happening there. And so are people here and in communities across the province. So it was a great opportunity. Again, these are the kind of conversations we want to have on this show, where we know that this has been an issue. And I have to give a shout out to our team at Barrie Today, who have covered every possible angle to this. They've been on top of this story, and they've been covering the issue of homeless encampments in Barrie for years and doing a fantastic job of telling the stories about why these encampments exist, who's living there, what's being done to try to help them. And then when this news broke about the state of emergency, as well as the alleged double murder beforehand, they've had every angle covered. So kudos to them and the coverage they're doing. They're doing a great job for the citizens of Barrie and the people who read them. And now to be able to have a conversation like this on our show just goes a little bit deeper, where we get to hear from the mayor in his own words and just have kind of that one-on-one conversation. We're going to have a lot more conversations about this issue for sure. This is kind of right in the middle of it.
Absolutely. Okay, that's it for us tonight. Follow us on social media. Check out our new website, closerlookpodcast.ca. Click on the link. We'll send you brand new episodes 6 days a week. closerlookpodcast.ca. For Michael Friscolanti, our editor-in-chief, I'm Scott Sexsmith. Enjoy what's left of your Thursday, the weekend coming tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 right here on Closer Look.
Frisco and Scott's Wardrobe, provided in part by Moores, Sault Ste. Marie.